We should be streaming now. There we go. Yeah. Hi guys, can you see me? Yeah, well I've got people there. So listen, if you're watching this, welcome to the live feed. It is live, so you may find a few errors on here. It's the first one we've done. But I've got Andy Gibb with me. For those of you that don't know Andy, Andy runs the safeguarding awareness training for us now. He's run a number of courses for us. He's worked with me for many, many years. We're delivering training to the national sports centres with Andy's guidance. So he's actually delivering the training, which is brilliant. But I just wanted to say, thanks so much for joining us. For those that are watching, if you want to post some comments, there's a comments box below. Post your questions in there, and Andy and I will try to answer them in the time provided. With regards to how long this runs for, we're probably going to run for around 15 minutes, maybe a bit longer, depending on what questions we get, if any. But the scope of today, really, and I've made a few notes here. I mean, one of the things with safeguarding training is it can be, pretty dry. Or people think it's a pretty dry, snuffy, morbid type thing, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the case. And Andy has proved that time and time again with the training he does for us. His sense of humour is actually brilliant. Please, if you're watching this, share this link with your friends on Facebook. Let them know that this is live so they can watch this too. At the end of this video, Andy's going to give you some tips on some safeguarding stuff you can implement absolutely straight away. So when you finish here today, you can go and implement this stuff, and you'll be safeguarding aware and making a difference in people's lives almost immediately. Just a couple of house points. I mean, this is a live video, so it's there for you. We want to get great benefit out of it. So if you have any comments, please make them constructive. I don't want any whinges on the feed. So if you come here to nitpick, this isn't the place for you. It's here genuinely so we can actually help you improve what you do from a safeguarding perspective. Now, one of the questions I get, because people say to me, how come you're safeguarding now? Why have you got involved with safeguarding training? Well, the simple reason is because it's important. Door supervisors have had to do this now. They had to implement safeguarding training because of a situation that occurred in the north of England. And safeguarding for me sits hand in glove with things like health and safety. So it's no different. I mean, we cover children's legislation. We have best interest of the child criteria. We have to consider the risk to adults as well now. So this isn't something separate to what we do. This is something that actually complements what we do and fits in very nicely with that. So that's why we're doing it. And I'm finding it a really interesting area. Actually, I'm learning loads. So, I mean, I'm going to hand over to Andy now, and Andy, do a quick introduction on yourself, buddy, and give him a bit of your background.
Evening, Mark.
Hi, mate.
Thanks for inviting us on here. Live, this should be interesting for everybody who knows me, as long as I can curb my excitement. My name's Andy Gibb. I've worked with Mark for a number of years. Safeguarding now, working in healthcare, involved with PI and PMVA now for going on 30 years. That's a worrying thought, Mark. 30 years.
We're getting older.
Which technically, if I've been doing it for 30 years, Mark, which will make me 50 this month.
Yeah, don't worry.
Broken, eh?
Don't worry.
I've even tried to do the light so you can't see me grey hair. I can see yours, so as long as yours is more grey than mine, I'm happy.
Distinguished look, mate. Distinguished look.
Distinguished look. I've worked in numerous settings. Anyone who knows me started out 30 years ago as a healthcare worker, became operations director for a large healthcare organisation, fundamentally safeguarding, PMVA, and met you many years ago through a healthcare provider who sent me on one of your courses. And that's me. I am the director of a company, and I must emphasise, given this opportunity, that it's just I might be here, but there's a massive team behind me which enables us to deliver safeguarding out there. So, just a big thanks to all the team members, which has led us to this point where we are with our company. So, thank you.
Coming on to why we're doing this together, why you and I are working together, and Stevie Lambert's just joined us. Hi, Stevie. Thanks for popping in, buddy. You know what we teach. We teach physical intervention, PMVA, positive handling, self-defense. Why is it, in your opinion, I mean, I know why it's important, I've seen the light now, if you like, but why is it, in your opinion, this safeguarding awareness is so important for people who are teaching and training in our industry?
Well, it's such a necessary part in what you do. I totally agree that your company and people and trainers coming to you have a specific need to do with learning skills. But what we find is now that getting ingraining in safeguarding into what you're delivering is so important. It was interesting, the last time I was with yourselves, I think it was a self-defence course, wasn't it, when we stood in front of everybody and asked them if they'd done any safeguarding training. Well, previous to that, what we did ask them is, what were you going to do and where were you going to teach? And everybody wanted to have classes, teach children, work in schools. And then when we mentioned safeguarding, it was sort of like a quite hushed reaction. And from my point of view, who deal with UK schools, what I want to see is people coming through who are aware of safeguarding. It's such a large part of what we do.
But yeah, because you're getting called in now, aren't you? Quite a lot when it comes to restraints in schools and that sort of stuff. So you're getting called in to look at what companies like us do from a safeguarding perspective, and we should therefore be putting more safeguarding in our training. Is that what you think?
Yeah. What we see as a team is that a lot of schools contact us wanting information on to do with instances through restraint, and what we want to see is trainers understanding what safeguarding is. Now, when it comes to physical intervention, it's a small part, isn't it? Is that we don't want to react to it. We want to see what happens previous and what we can put in place to stop that. And at the pinnacle, at the top of the iceberg, you could say, was physical intervention. But what we're seeing now is a massive push towards what can we put in place before this happens. And that's what I want to see. I want to see more trainers out there recognising the fact of safeguarding issues before we reach into physical intervention.
Now, I'm working with one large healthcare organisation at the moment, and they've now mandated that all of their trainers that teach what they call PMBA, or if we know generically as physical restraint or physical intervention, they now have to actually add a safeguarding module into what they're delivering when they're doing their physical skills training. They've made that mandatory now. So again, it shows the importance of it. But for a lot of people out there, and I was one of these people, I couldn't actually understand where safeguarding sat with all of this. So, if you've got a minute or two, can you explain how safeguarding fits into what we do and why it's important? Because I can get it from a health and safety point of view, and I've sort of made the link now. But why is it so important from, a safeguarding perspective? Because we've got children's legislation, we've got human rights legislation, we've got health and safety legislation. So holistically, there's loads of legislation already there. What's the difference, and what's the add-on with safeguarding?
So take it. You as a trainer, Mark. If you run a course and there's say 30 people there who are attending Lillidshaw, now recent figures show that 1 in 14 people have suffered abuse as a child. So we need to ask ourselves, 1, why are they coming to training? 2, why are they attending your trainers' self-defence courses? Why people are going to educate themselves on defence. If 1 in 14 people have suffered abuse in their childhood, there is reasons why people attend these things, isn't it? There's business reasons, there's self-motivation, there's confidence issues. So what we see is that if there's 1 in 14, percentage-wise, there's going to be people in that room with safeguarding need. And there's techniques which will demonstrate, which you'll, take people into the gym to show, which is hands-on. And that's the element we have to be careful from. We have to recognise the fact that people have possibly safeguarding histories.
Well, interesting. I mean, hi Sharon, Paul, Stevie, Vicky just asked a lesson. She's asked a question, and it is: can you give a clear definition of safeguarding? How would you define
safeguarding. Safeguarding is a fact of, if we're talking to adults or children, safeguarding is an element of where we need to protect and not cause distress. If I was to sum it up in a quick term, was that we need to protect people from abuse. Now, abuse, when we say abuse, people immediately think, well, I'm not going to hit a delegate, I'm not going to sexually abuse a delegate, but we need to look at issues of emotional abuse, of what you might be putting through that individual, exposing them to anecdotes, stories, situations. We're both aware of situations where trainers have demonstrated a front stranglehold on an individual, on a delegate, where that delegate themselves have suffered abuse, if it was domestic abuse or whatever. Because what we want to see is the fact of that there's, I wouldn't say a health warning, but if you remember the trainer course we ran, I always start out with a health warning. And it's not anything dangerous, it's just the fact of that what we're going to discuss, what we're going to speak about, or what you're going to demonstrate on a course. You need to let people know. There was a feed on Facebook a bit ago. One of the team shared with me, and it was an individual laughing because he caused distress to to a delegate in his room.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. That shouts out safeguarding to me, which links into where we'll go when we were on about the court work. And it shouldn't be something to sort of like say, man up. It isn't. It's a fact of that we have a responsibility for these people's safety. They're in your care while you're training them.
Right.
And that's what we need to see. We need to see more understanding of that. If they're in your care and you've got to look after them, I can guarantee, when you train your trainers, do you give them all the information they need to do with health and safety?
Well, yeah, we do.
You give them a risk assessment.
Do we give them a risk assessment?
Yeah. Do they do that template risk assessment when they go into a venue to deliver, say, self-defence?
What, you mean check the venue out?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, check. So we've got everything there, haven't we?
Yeah.
What we're wanting to help you do, and what we're trying to get through with this course, is the fact of we need to people have that safeguarding awareness in there as well.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Now, when it comes down to some of the restraint holds, and we had this on the trainer course that you ran for us, one of the things we were looking at was, the safeguarding angle, if you like, on someone who's going to be restrained, take to the floor, have their trousers pulled down, injected in the upper right quadrant of their buttock, which is a standard practice in a lot of hospitals still today. Yeah. How would you come at that? I mean, what's your opinion on that?
Well, what we see, if you remember on the course, wasn't it? There was people in there which were involved in healthcare, and I said to them, I said, right, hold me as you would hold a patient, and then went through how you would inject, how we did inject a patient. Now, working in healthcare for 30 years, I know exactly what people do. We need to inject in the upper right quadrant because it's the biggest muscle base in the body. There is other injection sites, but by default people go for the buttock area because of the muscle density. Because the injections are slow release injection. But what that person might be experiencing, the chance of that patient have suffered previous abuse, if it might be sexual, physical, emotional, or whatever, is that what we're doing is we're holding that individual. Sometimes we're holding them prone. Another member of staff will fiddle with their belt or pull their trousers down. The last time that happened, potentially, was when that person was abused. And what we're expecting to do, you see staff there saying, right, calm down. And what we see is lack of communication, lack of understanding of potential safeguarding issues in that area. And that's the risk. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'd suffered abuse at that level and I was held down for an injection, and the first thing started happening, someone was fiddling with my trousers to pull them down. I don't know about you, I'd fight like the devil, thinking that was going to rehappen again.
Of course, so, we've had this historically in restraint where people have been held down and they've struggled against the restraint. It's happened in a number of restraint-related deaths because they take the struggle as being someone trying to resist the staff's attempts to control them. And there's never an aspect of, is this person emotionally disturbed? Are they going through trauma? Have they been abused in the past? It's always been from a physical aspect. A use of force continuum used to be the old word, where we'd hold them down and apply more pressure, and they'd eventually, they'd die. And so I can see where safeguarding links in there, because you can look at a restraint, and I'll use a restraint example and say, okay, physically wise, we're doing everything right. All the techniques have been assessed. Reasonable force wise, we're doing it right. Health and safety wise, everyone's trained and in date. But that other safeguarding module is we're actually now becoming aware of people in distress and saying, well, there could be more to this than them just resisting it. Is that a fair angle at it for someone as naive as me?
It's a fact. I understand there's a major provider now wanting to bring in safeguarding into PMBA and wanting to recognise that in physical intervention, which is good because I think it's a major part. After 30 years working from high secures through to residential, I know that the best plans in the world. Things do happen unexpectedly, but what we're recognising now is the fact of that how much distress it would cause to the individual. Sometimes, sometimes situations face us where that happens, but what we're saying is that it's the work you do with the individuals. My most recent placement was a gentleman who required PRN medication in that exact same manner. But the amount of work put in with that individual to try and make it the most least intrusive, the communication was second to none. And then sometimes the injection went well, and then sometimes restraint was needed.
We're going to cover a lot of this on the 7th, aren't we? The 7th of June.
Yeah. We're gonna. I mean, the great thing about it is that historically, when people have said right safeguarding awareness, it's almost like out of the box safeguarding awareness, and people have attended it. And if you go about children and safeguarding, you'll sit there and you'll go through infants and upwards up to the age of 18. The great thing about the course we've written for yourselves is that it's tailored to this. So it's tailored to your trainers and things they may come across and things that they require to know, really, to make sure that they're safe and the people they're training safe.
Yeah, no, well, I'm happy with it, and I mean the National Sports Centre are happy because we've now trained Lilleshall and we're now going to be training Bisham Abbey. But listen, we've got a couple of questions coming in here. Mike's asking here, Mike White, hi Mike. So is there anything that can be provided to the delegates to fill in before training commences that will identify an issue so that we can get an idea of how to approach for their particular situation?
Right, it's good. The chance of someone being identified by filling in the form. I know what you're on about. You're on about almost sending out something saying, I mean, the problem there would, how would you word it? How would you say, have you been abused in the past? So what we'd have to be really careful with that is, what I would do is send out some pre-information, and in that information, highlight the fact that safeguarding is paramount to your concern, and ensure that everybody's, and offer a safe place, offer the opportunity for someone to raise a concern, instead of just dive in, welcome everybody, bang on, let's get on the mats, that type of attitude. We need to let them people be aware that we're aware of safeguarding issues and that there is a person to speak to if they have got concerns.
I mean, my experience of that is I've been teaching a long time, is that people who may have a history of abuse are not going to mention it. They're not going to bring it up on a form. So I think our awareness on a course is really important, and it's what to do if someone discloses. I've actually had this on a course where a person got really upset. They left the room. Luckily, I had a female trainer with me. It was brilliant. It was a lady that left the room. I mean, I didn't know what to do at the time, and it turned out that she'd been the victim of abuse for quite a long time throughout her life. And Debbie, the trainer at the time, dealt with it absolutely magnificently. But she disclosed, and I didn't know what to do. Again, luckily I had someone there, and it was by luck, not more by design, that knew what to do with disclosure. So this is something you're going to talk more about this on the 7th. I know you're going to cover this on the 7th, but. To answer Mike's questions, and I don't think someone's going to fill out a form and say, yeah, I've suffered historical abuse, or I have a trauma or safeguarding issue.
He might not be meaning that, but what we're saying is that you can send out some pre, but if you're advertising, just recognise the fact that you recognise safeguarding. Do you know what I mean? And that the safety of the people attending, the option to speak individually, giving breaks, but as long as they know they've got someone to talk to, if there is a concern, and giving that opportunity for them to talk to you.
Now, Sharon Dooley's asked a question. Hi, Sharon. She's saying, does Our Own Works safeguarding course cover PMVA safeguarding? Now, you know what company Sharon's talking about, so we won't go into who they are. But they run their own safeguarding course. Have you probably done that or know about it? Will that cover their PMVA training?
Their own, yeah. As long as it's specific, knowing that delivery is patient focused. There is elements in there which I would like to see added specifically for PMVA instructors, like the incident we're on about now. Now, there is elements you can add in there which needed to be added into the safeguarding in-house training they do. even if it's just a remit, because all the staff who will attend that one-day training course will be involved in PMVA at some point, no doubt. So it needs to be highlighted separately. At the present moment in time, I'm unaware of it specifically focusing on that. It might have changed in the last few months I saw it. But yeah, it needs to be focused on basically restraint as well. So you can cover the entire safeguarding area, but there needs to be a specific unit in there for trainers to be able to use when they deliver.
Great, thanks. I mean, we're sort of, firing away. We're going 20 minutes already. One of the things, and I know you're getting involved in this now, which is why you and I are working together on this project, is I've been involved with 3 expert witness cases in the last 2 months. Now I'm attending court as an expert witness on one of them in September now. And when I was asked to review the evidence, and even for someone, an old sort like me, if you like, has been doing it the old school way for many years, there were clear safeguarding issues there, and it was really interesting that the child protection officer from the police actually picked up on this too. What are the implications for organisations or trainers or individuals now that are actually not safeguard aware when they're delivering training? If there is a trauma or an issue on a course, or a restraint hold's put on too excessively.
Yeah. Look at the fact of if it was a health and safety issue, but look at it as safeguarding eyes. The fact of, have you prepared people if you're going to expose them to things which might cause them distress? Now, what we've seen is that I'm sure everybody's aware that there's been restrictions onto, do you know the old adage of where there's a blame, there's a claim? Yeah, you heard of that saying. And everybody's, I'm sure you do your static safety brief, and you do another safety brief. And this is the limit in, and everybody fills in their questionnaires. Now, that's good, health and safety wise, that's good practice. But we've seen a clampdown on this. We've seen, reduction in whiplash claims and prosecutions like that because it's got out of hand. But if you Google now sexual abuse claims in Google, there will be numerous professional solicitor groups focusing on claiming from allegations.
Right.
Why? Because it's an easier field compared to say car accidents. Now the question is if you're not prepared and you don't set out your stall, recognising safeguarding, understanding the fundamental bits. And I'm not about attending awareness courses. I'm not on about having to go through the trainer if you don't want to do it. It's the fact of recognising and doing your due diligence. The question your trainers need to ask themselves is that do I train children? Do I come in contact with children? And if I come in contact with children, what would I do if? And that's it. And that's really what they need to focus on.
But you mentioned children, there's also vulnerable adults as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've got adults at risk, which we're saying that 1 in 14 adults were abused in their childhood. So if them people are in, and you cause distress to that individual because they've suffered domestic abuse or there was a sexual assault or neglect, and then you demonstrate basically a blatant disregard for that, are you not causing emotional distress to that individual? Again, because looking through the courts, it's all to do with sort of like age and time off and distress caused when you look at it through a court's eyes.
So from a trainer's point of view as well, it's also regulating our behaviour and what we do and what we say, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely paramount. It's absolutely paramount that we're aware of how our actions and how we come across can affect others. Unknowingly, I don't think any trainer goes out there to openly upset or cause distress to the group. That it just wouldn't make good business sense. But we need to realise what we say and our actions can affect people. Not purposely. It's just that we don't know. We like to think we know the delegates we are working with, but really, do we know them that well?
You and I know for a fact that, only recently, people I've known for many, many years have disclosed, and I didn't have a clue. Didn't have a clue about this stuff, and these are people I've trained with, people I've worked with, people I've known for many, many years, and Not a clue. Didn't see the signs. Didn't pick up on it at all. It's only because they actually openly disclosed that I became aware of it. So we just don't know. We just don't know what
and
trauma.
It's really important as well. It's sort of like to things we discuss. Things we'll speak about on the awareness course will be recognise the fact of how it can affect you, and that's really important. That's really important to understand how it could affect you and how we react to a disclosure.
Yeah. Ricky just hi Ricky, how do you, Ricky just put up there. I think we need to recognise that breakaway and restraint involves very, very close contact, where the training staff were using this with patients. After experiencing a nurse breaking down during a strangle breakaway technique, I always ask candidates before if there are any issues with close contact. The nurse was terrified of anyone going near her neck following a previous incident. I think we've covered that already in there. But Ricky, thanks for raising that one. It's
got to be. You've got to. You can't presume anything. We understand that, but we have to be careful of the fact that we are forcing people's hands to say, right, I can't do that, and expect them to open up in front of a group. There's got to be an option where people can offer to, use the technique if they wish, but we don't need to be saying, right, you've got to do this technique. And if people are, that's where trainers come in, is when you keep an eye on that group and you want to be looking at these signs that, they aren't involved, that they might be on the periphery of the group. And instead of sort of like saying, come on, have a go, it needs to be the fact that we need to recognise that it might be the fact of that, they aren't listening or they're bored, but fundamentally, if we recognise safeguarding signs, it might be the fact that there's a safeguarding issue already there. And how we handle that's really, really important. And the support we give afterwards as well. It's we see it so many times.
So, obviously, we've got a course running on the 7th, and you're going to go into this in a lot more depth. With that one-day course, a one-day safeguarding awareness course for the types of people, industry we train in, will that be enough for people to go away and start implementing that information into their training already? So if they're teaching in hospitals or care homes or schools or hotels, will that be enough?
Yeah. Let's the one day. It's a full day because we cover both elements, don't we? We're looking at children and we're looking at the element of the adults at the end. There'll be enough in there to immediately do. Like I spoke to you earlier regarding our wish to get something out tonight, which if they can do something tonight, if they're training tomorrow, which will benefit, which will start them on the road to safeguarding, understanding, just to get that message out there. That's what we're all about.
Well, we'll cover that in a minute. I think we'll have to close down to it. We're going for a while now. This is 27 minutes. It's good old chat here.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll finish off.
But for me, obviously, I run an organisation. I'm a businessman, and when people come on courses with me, I'm sort of flying the flag for them to start their own businesses and go out there and get a return on investment. I did a podcast the other day about how many people have been laid off just in April and May this year. So I'm always, on a mission to set people free to get to start their own business and earn money in case their job lets them down. For me, safeguarding, in terms of the investment, is a phenomenal return on investment, isn't it?
Yeah. If when we look at people using, going on to do the trainer course, so like the need for safeguarding in all elements. I was speaking to Tony, a guy from one of the first courses, and how he'd come across safeguarding in the environment he was working, and it was by an issue that he was working in the security industry, and he'd already done the trainer safeguarding, and someone approached him regarding that, and now he's looking at putting out safeguarding courses there. It's it's a need. It's a need we need. Yeah.
And you're supporting him on that. This is now months and months after the course happens, so you're quite happy to support people after the training.
Yeah. I know. I'm lethal. I stick my mobile number out because I want to make sure that it's one of those courses like it's not hit and miss. And 9 times out of 10, the individual who contacts me knows exactly what to do. They do the training, they understand the importance of it, and they do it. They just phone me to make sure.
I've got a message here from Carl. He's just put, I taught a group of care workers a breakaway course last week. There were no declared issues and the course was a success. However, during the break, a manager said to the staff, I don't care what he teaches you, don't touch them. if they get abusive, just take it. And any advice for what I can go back to the owners with? I think, Carl, that's more of a use of force issue and a health and safety issue than probably a safeguarding one. Andy, would you agree?
Yeah, it's a safeguarding issue for the staff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's for the staff straight away, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's elements where if we see that in a complete picture and then being able to bring the safeguarding issue into that discussion. But like I say, same as that, he'll no doubt, we say, contact us and we'll speak to you over telephone regarding individual cases.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point because, the staff could be vulnerable too. We know that from a health and safety point of view, but you just made the link that a vulnerable member of staff is vulnerable. It's a safeguarding issue for staff too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah. And expecting staff to do things which makes them feel like that. Yeah, totally agree.
Well, listen, we promised these guys some tips at the end. So what simple things can they do now, right at the end of this broadcast, so that they can go back and they can implement straight away?
Right. Anybody out there with a website, have you got a paragraph on there to do with your commitment to safeguarding? Recognising that you understand safeguarding. There's people out there, if you train children or if you train adults at risk, if I was a parent, I am a parent. God, that's me trying to forget. So if I was a parent and sending my child to martial arts, self-defence course or anything, I'd want to know that they were looked after and that the person looking after them understood safeguarding. You've got the most precious thing in your life. Tell me that you understand safeguarding. So that's easy. You can log on and get a paragraph onto that safeguarding element in there. Even easier. People travel around doing different courses, don't they? And do different venues. They might not be in the same venue all the time. Print out on a piece of A4 a safeguarding statement. How you commit towards the safeguarding and the safety of the people you're training. Mention it. We'll go on to the reasons why as barriers on the 7th. But we can do that. Make it a topic. Also, when you do your own feedback, when you looking at your own reports and that, look, was there any safeguarding issues? Was there any safeguarding concerns? You do it with health and safety, just bring in safeguarding in there. And also, if you're training, do you know the local safeguarding board's number? If you're training a group of people in whatever location and there's a disclosure, and it's a major disclosure, it could be a sexual or whatever abuse, or you've got a concern, have you got the local safeguarding children and adults board contact number? Out of hours, office, whatever. If you've got it at hand, isn't it? That's another significant thing people can do. But you can do that tonight. You can do that straight away tonight to get that message out there regarding safeguarding.
Brilliant, Andy. Guys, listen, thanks ever so much for joining us. Andy, thanks for all that, buddy. I've made some notes myself. I've got something I'm going to do tonight as well. For those of you, I hope you found it interesting. Please leave comments below. Share the feed if you wish to. There's a link up there. If you want to come along on the 7th, you're welcome to. We're taking bookings every day for this. I think it's going to be an absolutely cracking course. I mean, I've seen Andy teach. The sports centres that we teach at now love it. So the National Sports and Competing Centres, Littershaw, we've run courses there now for their staff. We're also going to Bisham Abbey to run courses there for their staff because they can see how this links in, and Andy's made this really specific to what we do. But Andy, thanks ever so much, buddy. I really appreciate your time, especially this time in the evening. Guys, girls, thanks for listening in. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been beneficial to you. And, like you said, get in touch if we can help, or particularly Andy with the Safeguarding Site can help, get in touch. Andy, thanks, buddy. Good night. Everyone for listening, thanks so much. Good night, and we'll speak soon. Cheers, Andy.